everyone, and welcome to CinnCine Goes SyFy, where I do a deep dive from script to screen with a very, very special guest about classic sci-fi film. And this week, I have another dilly. Now, this is not a childhood favorite because I was working girl when this one came on. Ha ha ha! Do you see what I did there, working girl? Ha ha! And the film tonight is Blade Runner. Blade Runner. This is considered to be a sci-fi cult classic, and I almost hate to use the word cult in front of it because it is just a sci-fi classic now. It is one of those films that everyone has been inspired by coming afterwards and will continue to inspire. So now, if you haven't seen this film, here is a little taste.
I met her at the Terrell Corporation. You know, the big boys in genetic engineering. They manufacture humans. Hell, they're so human you can't tell them from the real thing, and that's a problem. A big problem.
If I didn't care,
Say, kiss me.
more than words can say. If I didn't care,
That's not my kind of place.
then why do I thrill?
No choice, pal.
Rachel?
You trust me?
I'm telling you. I mean, even the trailer just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And who better than to go through this film with me than the one and only Mr. David Livingston. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Sabrina.
Oh, I am so pleased that you said yes. So now, for those of you who don't know David Livingston, I don't know why you're my friends, but David Livingston has directed more than 60 Star Trek episodes. He started in 1988 on the set of TNG, went on to direct Voyagers, DS9, and Enterprise episodes and produced them. He also has a writer credit for one of our favorite episodes, The Nagus. And believe it or not, is also responsible for the 2002 TV remake of Carrie, which I did not know until tonight. So he's also an avid photographer, and he has been a great motivator of me personally, and but giving me so much encouragement over the last couple of years that I've met him back at a Hollywood Food Coalition party, and we were introduced by he introduced us to Adele Simmons, and who's become a great friend of ours. And I am really just so thrilled and happy that you're doing the show tonight, and I'm especially thrilled that we're doing Blade Runner.
Me too.
All right. So my first question, and I told you before we started that I had some questions. Why Blade Runner? Mr. Star Trek, tell me why you like this dystopian film so much.
That's my view of the future. I did work on Star Trek, the various iterations of 4 television series for 17 years. But my view of the future was not Gene Roddenberry's. And I loved working on all of the shows, but it's not how I saw things. How I saw things was the Blade Runner dystopian view of the potential future. I don't want it to end up that way, but that was what was most intriguing to me. Also, to me, it's more entertaining because of its of the fraughtness of it, because of the tension and everything else that comes along in that world. It's not a perfect world. A lot of Gene Roddenberry's human population was gearing towards perfection, and we'd
Mhm.
meet alien species who weren't so perfect, and we were going to help them reach perfection. Well, that's not the world of the humans on Earth that inhabits Blade Runner.
No, they are having a tough time, but they
They're-
they seem to be able to be dealing with it. I mean, the constant night, the constant rain. I mean, if that's what you got, that's what you got.
It's your given circumstances, and it's a film about, ultimately it's a film about survival about the humans and survival about the replicants. People simply want to live, and they will do anything within their power to maintain life and to get by, and maybe even reach a modicum of should I say happiness.
Happiness. Yeah.
So life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In the dystopian world of Blade Runner, it's a tough road, but that's what all of them ultimately want, and they want love. The trailer that you showed, it concentrate. There's so much more than simply the love story, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
trailer is all about the love story. It starts off with Harrison Ford, and ends uh, uh,
Sean Young.
with Sean as well. So Sean and Harrison are in the first frame, I think, of the trailer, and at the
Yeah.
very end as well. An interesting thing about the trailer, though, that's the original theatrical trailer. And
See,
when you
now
and
I
I,
knew.
well, when you and I
And I
talked
said to
about
myself,
this,
David's gonna know that I did not take the trailer from the final cut.
well, but that's okay. When we had talked about it, we both agreed that our focus was going to be on the final cut,
Right.
which has no narration. And in the trailer that you just saw, you hear Harrison Ford's translation. Now, my take on the translation is that it made it more nourish than the final cut. It made it a very, because it followed the template of a noir film with having somebody narrate what's going on. But
Right.
I am absolutely on Ridley Scott's page that you don't need that narration. And while it may take away a quality of that noir feeling, it's a much superior way. And to me, the narration dumbed down and made the audience that they wouldn't get it, that they
It
wouldn't
was like a it
understand it.
was like a it stuck out, and I'll tell
Yeah,
you honestly, the reason why I picked that trailer was for the time. It was one of the shortest trailers,
no,
but,
I'm not questioning your choice of it. I'm
no,
simply
I
saying,
just there's a couple of people in
yeah,
here that was saying in the chat, they were like, "Oh, I missed the narration." So one person in the chat is happy I picked that trailer, but
no, I
but I
think
said to myself,
I don't
"David's
think
gonna
the
catch
audience
me on
is,
this."
yeah, the audience is a lot smarter than Warner Brothers gave them credit for.
Yeah,
It was not necessary, and and there have been many iterations of the film over the years, but the final, the last version that I understand, the one that has the impunt, how do you say that? Whatever it is, uh, the uh, agreement of Ridley Scott that this is the version.
right.
He That's his version.
Yes, the final
Imprintar,
cut.
is that the word? I don't know.
Imprintar.
Imprintar. I think
Impritor.
that's it.
Oh, I know what you're saying, yes. Impritor,
Okay,
yes.
whatever. Maybe if
So,
somebody in the chat
so
will
if
correct
anybody
my
wants to know
English.
which version to watch, it is the final cut. This is the
Nope.
one that
In my opinion, yes. But as an entertainment exercise, you can go back and look at the one with the narration, and you can decide for yourself which version you like best. But I would say watch um, the final cut first, to
mhm,
then see if you felt that the narration helped you understand more of the film. And I don't think it does.
yeah, yes. Well, I'll say this, I did read the script for the first time getting ready for this talk with
Wow,
you.
cool.
Yes, and I would say that after reading the script, I have all kinds of admiration for Ridley Scott because the script is good, and I mean, of course, it's a good script, but like you were saying, it's almost a noir film. So I mean, you basically, if you take out all of the techno stuff and you take out all the cyberpunk kind of look, you could do this story with Humphrey Bogart in there and Lauren Bacall, and you would just have yourself a detective story with the girl that falls for the whole thing. I mean, it's just a film noir, but the vision that was added to this script, just, I mean, it was there on the page, but I'm going to read the first sentence of the script. And if everybody here that's seen this movie remembers the opening scene, which is one of those scenes that blows you away. Now, I remember seeing this in the theater, and when that first scene comes up of Hades, you're like, what are we about to see? Oh my God. So here's the first line of the script. We are moving toward the Tyrell Corporation across a vast plain of industrialization, menacing shapes on the horizon, stacks belching flames 500 feet into the sky, the color of cigar ash. That's all they gave him. And then he gives us Blade Runner. I'm like, oh my aching back. It's amazing to me. And it made me realize that the script writer doesn't have to put every little detail in that script. You're going to have to leave stuff for the art direction and all of the other people. You got to trust that they're going to get it for you. You know, you give them your vision here and there in a couple of lines, and, Lawrence Paul and crew, Mead, will take it away.
Yeah, Sid
Sid
Mead, yeah.
Mead. Yeah. And I mean, wow. So,
Well, yeah. In The Longest Day, all you had to write was the invasion of Normandy Beach. And then, okay, let's go shoot that. And
wow.
that's the same thing that Ridley Scott took those words and created this fantastic, futuristic, dystopian world with all these incredible artists. And the visual effects are absolutely astounding, especially for the period. If you release that film today, people would not question one single shot in it. And yet the vision and the impact of creating this hellish world is absolutely profound.
Oh, yeah.
Just a side note, I was working at the Burbank Studios when Blade Runner was being made. It was the Burbank Studios are now the Burbank Studios, but then it was called TBS, the Burbank Studios, and Columbia and Warner Brothers were there. And I remember seeing the set, and I was going, "Wow, that's really, really cool," because you didn't normally see that kind of largesse on a back lot. But they certainly went for it, and to me the set integrates perfectly with the visual effects. You
Oh my
you
God.
really feel infused and part of that world, which was essential. You had to know that the environment was one of the, if not the most important character in the film, because it drove everybody else's way of life and how they responded to each other.
Yes.
So
Yes. I mean,
it wasn't Mayberry RFD.
no, not at all. So you mentioned the back lot, and it just this film actually had really just one set, and it was that one long street that they used
Right.
the regular back lot. And if anybody's ever been to any of these studios, and of course I've been to several and gone through the back lot tour, they're usually, you can recognize a lot of these buildings. You know, they're the building they used for the 30s. You know, you've seen them in Star Trek. You've seen all of these sets before. And so they came through and actually made those buildings. They just retrofitted or just put things on top of those old buildings, so that's why you see like vents coming out of the buildings. You see pipes going along the buildings. You see all these kind of things hanging off of the building, like the guts of the building are outside, and then they just darken it down in the rain. But underneath of that is probably Mayberry RFD. So
That's funny.
it was just amazing what they did. And they said the art director, Lawrence Paul,
Oh,
who was, he is like the employee of the studio, and he's in charge of all of the visual things that are going on. He said that the thing that saved them was the actors strike. And the actors went on strike for about 4 months, and it gave them time to finesse this huge set with somebody just mentioned the Jovan symbols. I mean, they had all these neon things from all over the place. It was just this crazy thing in the rain. And I mean, and so one of the key things they hired, as you mentioned, Sid Mead. And Sid Mead was an industrial designer. And I think this is the key to this whole look. He actually, for a living, for Ford Motor Companies for a long time, drew futuristic cars, things that we were going to use in the future, futuristic landscapes, all this kind of stuff. So he came over and rendered this whole look of Blade Runner. And he said when he walked down that set after it was all finished, he could not believe they got his rendering to the T. He was actually moved when he saw it come into life, what he had drawn for them. I just get chills.
Yeah, he was an amazing designer and futurist, and um, again, it's an example of the quality of artists that participated in this film across across all avenues and across all functions. So kudos to Ridley Scott, kudos to the studio and the producers that recognized that they needed to support that look, otherwise it would come off
It
fake
would
and
come off.
false. They
Yeah.
went for it,
Yeah.
and the studio was willing to invest the money to do it.
No computers, 400 carpenters, 27 cars that were built, you know, one complete spinner that was actually working, the one that they shot the film in, that they shot the scenes in,
Oh,
everything in that
cool.
spinner worked. It
But
was
you
just
brought up a really good point that because it was a studio film, they could go all over the lot and take all neon signs or whatever,
yeah.
and they had a lot of the assets there, and they had the expertise and the technology within the studio and the studio system to be able to support that movie,
Mhm.
which was great. Now, in today's studio, you wouldn't do that. You would, I don't, you, first of all, you wouldn't make the film here. You'd make it probably in Eastern European countries,
Right.
so you'd be able to
Yugoslavia.
afford it.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Lucas had to go to England to make Star Wars, so it's an example of sort of the coming to the end of the studio system.
Right.
But so it was definitely a studio film. It had actors that were part of that studio system, and Harrison Ford is a perfect example of that, of a movie star coming in to head the cast of a science fiction film.
Right, because he had just done Raiders of the Lost Ark. He'd already done Star Wars, of course. And the year before this, he's Indiana Jones. And so here he is coming into Blade Runner. And I remember everybody went running to see, of course, Indiana Jones because of Star Wars. But I did not recall the big push or run of people to see Blade Runner. It was more of an indie kind of feel to it at the time, and it was like the cool kids were going to see Blade Runner and coming back, and it was sort of word of mouth, like, "Oh my God, you've got to see this film." And Harrison Ford did a pretty good job. I'm not a huge fan of his acting. Sometimes I know it's an unpopular opinion. I mean, he's a gorgeous man, and I love. Yeah, okay, Linda Harrison was hot, but he ended up winning me over in later films. Let's put it that way. But he had some really good scenes in this one. I bought it. I bought it from him.
He's
But
great in Shrinking. Have you seen Shrinking yet?
no.
It's on HBO uh, or Max. I'm not sure. He plays a psychologist, and he's really good in
Oh,
it. It's a
yeah.
it's a
I
s-
think
s-
he's.
it's a s-
Oh,
it's a streaming series. Yeah, uh, I loved him, and I think it's his best. I think it's his best performance
do you really?
because
Okay.
because the the subtext of his character is always questioning who he is. And he portrays that without knocking you over the head with it. And I think that's brilliant. And there's something very sad about his situation and the fact that his job is to kill
Is to kill
replicants,
people, kill
where
replicants.
he
Yeah.
first of all, he's killing something that is sentient. It may not be human, but it's aware, it has feelings, etc. And he may
Bigger,
be one.
faster, better.
And I think I'm positive that he is one. There's no question about it in my mind. And that's something I think was in his mind as a character as well. And I think how he navigates that whole problem, it's all underplayed, but I think it's there.
So
Um,
because in the beginning he is already saying that he had quit. You know, when
right.
Brian brings him in, he's like, you know, I'm done with this. I am no
Yeah.
longer a Blade Runner. And we don't know, you know, what happened to make him quit or even what he was really doing. He gets just called back in, and he's the only man that can do it after, you know, his other boy Holden there is Leon got
So
him.
yeah, he goes through the wall.
He goes, oh man, I mean, from the very beginning. Wow, wow, wow. So you know, he's already this this disin, disenchanted man that's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And now he's
Burned
got to
out.
find these replicants. And he's like, well, what are they doing? And one line that really got me in the script, and I can't remember if I heard it in the movie. I think I did, but um Holden says to Deckard when they're talking about, you know, he's already been injured and everything. Deckard went to visit him, and he's in the chamber in the screenplay. And Holden says they operated on him for 3 hours before they realized he was a replicant. And that one line just sent me. And I can't remember if that's actually in the movie, but
I don't
I
think
just thought
so.
like, yeah, how they are so well made that even in an autopsy, no one was aware until you went to the third hour before you realize this is not a human being.
Yeah.
So yes, shooting something like that, killing, chasing, killing, you know, and they all seem to have had emotions. You know, they weren't like Data without an emotion chip. They were as human as anything. I mean, you had to test them to see if they weren't. The infamous test with the Void Conf test, which was a scary machine. I mean, that even looked like it
Very,
was
very great,
kind of
great
lethal.
design. But that's a good point you brought up, is why did he bail? Was he burned out or whatever? But I come to think of it, I think you're right that he didn't like killing something that was so like him. So that that's very, very perceptive. I think that helps. I think that helps his character arc, that he gets sucked back into it and doesn't really have a choice.
No,
Uh,
no, Brian
yeah,
tells him you don't have a choice.
right. So
So here he is, and he's got to find the Nexus 6 people, and we have
yeah,
Rutger Hauer and Joanna Cassidy looking so beautiful. And oh, got a trivia thing for her about her and that snake. The reason why she was so calm with the snake when she was in her dressing room is because that was really her pet snake.
right.
What?
Yeah, that's
Named Darling.
yeah. Isn't that wild? I you wonder whether or not how this. I mean, you read the script. In the script, does it talk about the snake? And
Yes.
through total coincidence, they cast an actress with a snake,
Who has a
or did they
snake?
find out? Yeah, or did they find out that she had a snake and they revised the script to put that in after she was cast? That's a great trivia question. You have to find that one
Well, the
out.
snake and the scale and all that, that's, you know, verboten from the film is in the script. But
Okay.
there is a notation in the script at one point that says 22 pages are missing. And I just went, okay, what is that about? I don't know what,
Whoa.
yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe that was when they went and said, let's find Joanna. But I just thought that was funny because Harrison touches the snake at one point, and I was thinking, oh, the snake is fake. And now I'm like, was that snake real when Harrison, like,
Oh
'cause
yeah,
she
you
was
could see the
holding it like
head. You could see the head moving around when it was on her as well. No, that was a real snake.
that was a real snake.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Joanne, I don't know, girl. You just went up way, 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 way up in my book. That was a little much. But she had one of the best. I also want to give kudos to the stunt woman who did the death scene through the glass.
Absolutely, that was crazy. Not through one pane of glass, I think it was 3 panes,
Yes,
and
yes.
she was, boy,
She had
ass over tea
no
kettles.
protective clothing on at all. There were no, you know, she had some boots that maybe covered
Yeah,
her knees a little bit, but she went through that glass, and I mean, what a spectacular
yeah,
bang. That was,
it was a great stunt.
yes.
I don't know if today you would do that. I think you might be looking at a lot of digital effects because I'm
Mm.
sure it didn't feel good.
It could not have. I mean, every time I watch that, and they always, that's a clip that you see all the time. I just always think this stunt woman is like pretty much naked going through glass. I don't care if it's plastic. It's still gonna be not a good day. But I
Yeah,
don't know how many
no,
takes she had to do that.
it was an extraordinary thing, and kudos to her. Stunt people
Yeah.
are unsung heroes, and now the Academy, I think, is going to recognize stunt people with an Oscar now, and
Yes, yes, that is a
much
new
deserved.
category. It
Yeah,
really
new
is.
category. Yeah.
That's an amazing one. But I'll tell you one other thing that when Daryl Hannah, that little piece of trivia, when Daryl Hannah meets Sebastian and she's covered up with the newspaper, Sebastian scares her and she runs and she crashes into his truck and breaks the glass. She goes down and poosh, she actually did really break the glass. That was not
Whoa.
in the script. She slipped and went into the glass.
It looked very realistic.
It was real.
Okay.
That's Hannah
Thank you for that. I will
getting
cringe
8
more
chips
when
in
I
her elbow, which is scarred for life. And they just kept rolling. They just kept rolling.
oh,
Poor
that's
Daryl.
yeah. Don't cut. Don't cut.
She did not cut. I mean, she kept on going. But wow. So that's a real one. Stunt woman and the other one, Daryl, for real. So there's just a lot of stuff like that in that movie. But it was a film that I think a lot of people, I think you need to see this several times because the first time is just so visually overwhelming and you're following the story, and it's a basic detective going after the bad guys kind of thing. But then when once you absorb all of that, at least for me, when you come back and like you said, now you're looking at the subtext and what's going on and what's driving these characters and who is Deckard and why did Roy Batty save him at the end? I mean that here he was killing everybody. He kills Tyrell, which one of my favorite scenes. I know it's gross. But he's like, he gave him the techno babble. He just came in and asked that man, like, okay, how are you going to extend my life? He's like, well, the so-and-so won't work because the something and the da-da-da-da-da. It's kind of like you feel when you go to CVS and the pharmacist starts talking about why you can't have your prescription. You just want to go up there and
Give me my pills.
he was
That's
like,
funny.
extend my life. And as soon as he said no, wow, he just killed him. So now when he's chasing Deckard, you're like, he's surely gonna end his life. But then, he doesn't.
Because
And
he knows. Well,
he
he
knows
knows.
what?
He's not. He knows um, that Rick is a replicant. He knows
Oh,
he's
so
one
you
of.
believe that he is a replicant?
I told you
It's
that earlier. There's no question that he's a replicant.
there's no
His
question.
that's his whole conflict. That he has to he doesn't know 100% that he is one,
That
but
he
he
is
has really strong suspicions. As an audience member, I'm 100% sure that
sure.
he's a replicant. So his dilemma is that I might be one of them and I have to go and I'm going
Or
off and having to kill them.
kill them.
And Roy knows that he's a replicant. Roy is the smartest
Roy
person
knows.
other than Tyrell, and maybe even smarter than Tyrell in the whole movie. He's a 6. Okay. There's no other 6s, right? So he knows, and he's gonna cut him some slack and say, hey, I'm not gonna kill you. And
And Gaff
and
knows too.
huh?
Gaff knows.
Gaff, yeah. Well, yeah. That's why he leaves the unicorn. That's why he doesn't
Right.
kill
Right.
Sean Young.
Yeah.
He goes there because he could have killed her when he was there.
Right. Because she went rogue. She left Tyrell Corporation. She's gone.
Right.
So he's
Yeah, she's on
within
the
his
hit
right to
list.
kill her.
And he goes there. He doesn't kill her, but he leaves the
The origami.
origami. Thank you. The origami unicorn, which Rick saw in his dream. So he gets it. He knows as well. And this is really the story about a man conflicted about who he is and what his existence is and what his role in the world is. And it's a huge struggle for him. And it's also this profound love story where he falls in love with one of his own kind,
Yeah.
and shares a ticking clock of morality of mortality,
Right.
where they both know that they have a limited time together, but they're going to go off together and experience
Mhm.
it together. And that's a beautiful, beautiful love story within this huge canvas of this incredible science fiction movie.
Right.
But the core of it is the character of Harrison Ford and his struggles, and that's why I go back to saying it's my favorite performance for him, because he keeps as a subtext, but he keeps it there on the bringing it up when he needs to, and it's to me it's
Yeah.
marvelous.
Yeah. So like the first time I saw this movie, I didn't even think he was a replicant, even though I was missing all the
Really,
clues.
what do you
Look,
think
look, come on.
now?
Uh, I think he I think he is. Because the unicorn dream, number one,
Right?
and then remember he had all those pictures on the piano?
Yes,
The pictures. I
that's
was like, the only
yeah,
other people that had
it's his only connection to his life. And
right.
he knows, come on, if you really, hey, fess up, Rick, are these real or is this just these pictures? And he
Right.
would say, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is the pictures evoke something in me, but I don't know where it came from or what it
Where it
is.
came from. I don't know whose
And it's
memories
sort
these
of,
are, but they're
but
mine
in a
now.
way, we're all kind of replicants as well, because we
Yeah.
look at those photographs, and that person that I see myself as a 6-year-old, I don't recognize that person. I don't remember that circumstance. I don't know that world. I have a very bad memory to begin with. But the reality for me of that time period is in that photograph, not in
Mm,
my conscious or subconscious. So in a
okay.
way, there we're all sort of experiencing life the same way that replicants do, because we really don't have that connection to our past through our memories. I don't think, because maybe it's just because I have a very poor memory, so I need the pictures, and
You need the
I'm
pictures.
a visual person, so that's my artistic bent.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I need and rely on.
Well, I'm gonna segue for just a second because you said
Sure.
that, and I wanna talk to you a little bit about your photography, and before, and then we'll go right back into Blade Runner. But I definitely want to talk about your exhibition, sign Hollywood Sign, and now you're a freelancer for Getty Images. Is that what I?
Actually, I'm now retired from that, so
Okay,
I'm no longer a professional photographer, but I worked for Getty for about 20 years,
I didn't know
and
that.
yeah, I have. If you want to go look at go look at the Getty website, I have I think 400,000 pictures on the site, which is kind of crazy. Yeah,
Okay, that's boggling my mind right now.
yeah, it boggles me too. It was a lot of work. I shot a lot of red carpet events and a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of that was my main deal. I was an entertainment photographer, so I do the award shows and the
Was this
Vanity Fair
after
party. Star
after
Trek,
Trek?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You probably used some of those. I know
You
it
may
probably.
have. They're out there. I still get licensing, so everybody out there, keep using them.
Yay. Okay. All right. So, and now tell me about the Hollywood Sign exhibit. The exhibit that we talked about it a little bit, you and I,
Yeah,
but
I've
that
had a
is one of
couple
my
of
favorite
exhibits.
images.
Um, I live in a Hollywood land house at the bottom of the Hollywood sign. The Hollywood sign used to say the Hollywood sign used to say Hollywood Land, and it was an advertisement for a housing development. And I live in one of those houses. And I've
Oh.
always been enamored of the sign. And over the years, I have photographed it I probably shot 10,000 images or more minimum. And I've worked for the Hollywood Sign Trust and been up there when they're painting it or when they're doing laser shows. And and I've been very, very involved in it. And I've had a couple of exhibitions on the sign. And we had a theater here in Hollywood called the ArcLight, and I had an exhibit there once of my work on the sign. So I'm very taken with the power of uh, those 9 letters. They're the most famous. It's the most famous sign in the world,
Yep.
and how it attracts people from all over the world who want to come and be photographed with it says something about the magic of the Hollywood dream and trying to attain something magical. And so many people want to climb up and touch it, but they can't because you get arrested for trespassing. But they certainly want to have their picture taken. And we live on a street that ends at the entrance to Griffith Park, where the sign is right there. And the legions of people that come up and down the street, especially during the weekends and holidays, is extraordinary. And there's always tour buses parked with everybody piling out to take their photographs. Sometimes you have to do serpentine around all the tourists.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's an historic landmark, and again, living here and experiencing that, I recognize the aura and the power of that sign. So that's why I did exhibits.
Yeah.
But my other exhibit was that's more impactful for me was on the homeless in Hollywood, and I had a couple of exhibits on that prior to COVID, and that's how I got involved with the Hollywood Food Coalition and John Billingsley, who was Phlox on Star Trek Enterprise, and I served on their board for a couple of years, for 3 years, and created this photo exhibit of the homeless, and I shot it in really high saturation color and
Mm,
trying to show the vibrancy of these people who weren't recognized by us. Normally, the photographs of the homeless, they're black and white, they're detaching, they're I- they don't I wanted to picture them as real people living as vibrant lives as possible. Some people were opposed to my super saturation and making them seem glorified in some way, but that's how I saw them. I
mm.
saw them as these wonderful characters who I had numerous conversations and would write little cards next to the photographs about their lives, trying to tell the viewer that they're just like us. They just happen to have fallen on incredibly
On hard times.
times and circumstances, but
There before the grace of
we
God.
we need to see them. Just one last thing, because I know we're talking about Blade Runner, but
Oh, go
I
ahead.
decided to start to start doing personal photography in 2019 because I had not been doing it because of my professional life. And I went around taking pictures with my iPhone, and I get doing street photography, and I get home at night and I'd look at what I'd taken that day, and they were all of the homeless and the homeless encampments. And I said, those pictures are trying to tell me something. They're trying to
Uh-huh.
tell me that I have
Uh-huh.
not been paying attention to what's going on. And that drove me to then do this exhibit, which I did all on an iPhone, um, and which is the greatest photographic instrument ever invented because of its intimacy and its ease of operation. Uh, and and the exhibits were they were very successful because of the emotional impact it had on the viewers, and
Yeah.
I'm very gratified to know that it had the impact that it did. Okay, that's about me. Let's go back to Blade Runner.
Okay. All right.
But
So
thank you for bringing it up. I love to talk about myself.
I love to hear about it because you told me about the Hollywood sign thing, and I just love that I'm one of those people. When I see the Hollywood sign, I get misty eyed. I just love it.
Yeah, I'll
So
have to send you. I'll send you some of the photographs so you can take a look. Again,
I would love that.
there's a
I would
lot
so
of
love
them.
that. All right. So a little bit about the ending. And we were talking about, and then we were saying, why did he save him and all of this? But I I think that Roy, my opinion, I think that Roy actually imprinted his emotional feelings on Deckard. I mean, because he was pretty much, even though, we're saying he's a replicant, he was not a happy guy. I mean, he was like a real, I don't want to be here, like we said, everything was bad and he wasn't having a good time. Replicant or no, he was working like a regular human being in that time. I'm not enjoying this. And even the way he treated Rachel when he first came at her in the apartment, I was like, whoa, he grabbed her. He like was forcing her. I was just like, Rachel, you better get out of there. But after he has the confrontation with Roy, and Roy has saved him, and Roy has shown him, I want you to feel what it's like to live like a slave, to be afraid. And
Hmm.
then he pulls him up off, and they're sitting there talking, and he's talking about tears in the ocean, and I mean, I just lose it. And the bird flies away, and I'm
Great
like, oh my
speech.
God.
Great speech.
Yes. Oh my God. So now, Deckard he's a different man. He's a different replicant after this. He's like, what just happened? And when he meets Rachel the second time and he goes back to the apartment, he's a softer, kinder Deckard, I thought. And now he's someone now. He's not forcing her. He's asking her. He's talking to her. He was so happy she was still alive, because I thought she was dead. I really did. I was like, oh, they're gonna end this like this. No, no, no. So when I mean, we're spoiling this for you, but the movie is, decades old, people. I just thought that was interesting, that at the end, it was almost like at the beginning, when Leon was being asked about the tortoise, and he gets really upset, and he says, well, why would I not help the tortoise? It's like Deckard seems like the tortoise. Here's Roy saying, why wouldn't I help this poor guy who's flailing around on the roof, even though I put him there? He's like, I'm going to pick him up and turn him over, so he's not going to die. I said, it's actually kind of allegorical mirroring. It's like the beginning and the end. We have this tortoise flapping around, except it's Deckard. That's my take.
I think that is so perceptive on your part, and you have really helped me realize more of the power of the movie, because you said imprinted on him. I think that's exactly right. I think that's a very, very cool take. That I mean, Roy talked about, I've done some very bad things, and
Yes.
he has, but he was doing it all to be able to survive and to maybe love. I don't know, but he showed compassion, and and clearly that had an effect on Deckard.
Yes.
So
Even when
kudos
he
to you.
saw him,
That's a
when he
very
saw him
cool.
lose
That's a very
Pris,
cool take.
right?
Yeah.
When Pris died, and
Oh,
he
he
was
was
so,
broken heart. He was brokenhearted.
oh my God,
He was in love
put his
with her.
blood on his face. I was like, dude,
Yeah,
okay.
it was. Well, he was a sociopath. So let's be honest with you. I think he was sociopathic. But and the blood thing was a little weird. But it was his expression of love.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm with you all the way through. He's a tragic figure. He was given these great gifts, but then told you're only going to live. I don't know how long his lifespan was. Um,
yeah.
but he
He was
died. So
abused.
clearly it wasn't that long, uh, because his I don't know if you call it biological clock, his IA clock or whatever, and he knew he was dying, right?
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and he was going to make this one last act of compassion and humanity for
Right,
another replicant.
right.
Uh,
Because if he
it,
didn't,
it, yeah, go ahead.
everything, like you said, everything that he had gone through were going to be the tears in the ocean, like tears in the rain, or it was
Yeah,
going to be nothing. No one would know, because all his
right.
replicants friends were dead. He'd killed Tyrell. No one would ever know that Ray Batty had existed. This Nexus 6 had been there. But by saving
Nobody would
Deckard,
know. He
he
lives
would
on.
remember.
He what?
He would remember. He would be
He would
remembered.
remember. Yeah, he would be remembered. Brilliant. I love that. I think that's you did your homework or
Oh, I was ready for you.
no, no, no. I'm very impressed. It and ultimately that's the power of a film is whether or not it emotionally resonates with the audience. Without that, you got nothing. How many science fiction films have you seen that are emotionally vapid and have no character undertaking.
Right.
Which gets to my second favorite film, which is exactly that, that has no emotion in it, and that's 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Oh,
which is
of
devoid of everything by intention, and that's what gives that its power, because it's so devoid of any sense of humanity, which is great. So how two movies can be so in juxtaposition and yet so in their own world so powerful.
all right.
Interesting, huh?
That brings me to my game that I made up just for you. But
Oh, uh-oh.
all
God.
right.
I don't
I'm
oh,
going
I don't
back.
know.
I am going back to the movie Metropolis, which is one of my, all-time favorites. Now, this is a German expressionistic movie, which I think of as the great great granddaddy of Blade Runner, with its German impressionistic film look thing. I get a same similar kind of vibe. I think the DNA is there. So now I'm
Okay.
going to ask you.
Before you do that, I have to
Okay.
stop you. When I went to SC Film School, and when I was in graduate school, we would have these seminars with famous filmmakers. And one of them was this guy who wore a patch over his eyes, and he was in his 80s. And he gave his presentation. And at the end of the seminar, somebody said, he needs a ride home. We don't want to put him in a cab. Would you take him home, David? I took him home. Fritz Lang.
Oh my God, you were
Yeah.
lying.
Fritz
Oh
Lang
my
was
God.
in my car.
Oh my God.
Fritz Lang, for anybody who doesn't know, is the director of Metropolis, as well as M, which is one of the great stories about awful things. With
Awful things,
yeah,
like
terrible,
the
terrible, awful things.
cities, and this here it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so Metropolis is gonna be our baseline movie, and I'm gonna
Okay.
name another great visual movie from each decade to follow, and you tell me which one is your favorite, for whatever
Okay.
reason. All right, so we have from
Okay.
1927, Metropolis, directed by Fritz Lang. Next film, Things to Come from 1936. Which one is your favorite?
Um, I'd probably have to go. They're very similar. And Things to Come is great, but I think because of the German expressionism design of Metropolis, I have to go with Metropolis. The flood scene in it is,
Ooh,
I have no idea how they did that. It
in
is
1927.
unbelievable and scary. Huh? What's that?
I said in 1927.
Yeah, no, and the stunt people in that were getting washed away and stuff. I don't know how they did that movie, but they're both great movies. But I side with Metropolis.
Okay, then we're gonna go to 19. I'm gonna skip 1940 because there really wasn't anything great made in 1940 visually that I could think of. So I'm gonna
Okay,
skip and give 50s two movies. So first one, is it Metropolis or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? Oscar winner.
yeah, you said Metropolis again.
Yeah,
Are we?
yes. You
Oh, we're
picked
comparing
Metropolis
it.
out of Metropolis and Things to
Oh,
Come. It's
so
like
we're okay. So the next one, if that's the winner, then
Metropolis
we
or
compare.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Um, I, as a kid, I loved 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I was a big Jules Verne fan, and I thought it was a great movie. But Metropolis is a superior motion picture.
All right, we're hanging with Metropolis. All right, so now we're gonna do the second 50s movie, Metropolis or Forbidden Planet. Oh, he's suffering now.
Oh, yeah. Um, well,
Uh, uh,
okay,
uh,
okay.
uh,
Because of the characterization, I'm going to go with Forbidden Planet because, okay, I,
'Cause it's Forbidden Planet.
yeah, yeah.
All
It's
right,
about the id, and it's about all these crazy
yes,
things, and
it's
the
got that great
power of the
music.
mind, and huh, and huh,
It's got
yeah,
that music, that sounds.
yeah. But the idea of the mind doing all this stuff is very compelling. So I have to go with Forbidden Planet.
All right, Forbidden Planet, or you already named it, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Well, I'm a Stanley Kubrick is in my top five, and I have to go with 2001 because of the visual imagination, and an audience today can't tolerate the movie because it's so slow. but I revel in every second of it
Yvette
because
loves
of
it.
its huh? What's
Yvette
that?
loves it.
Yvette,
She loves it.
producer Yvette, right on. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. And I remember I was in film school when I first saw it, and when all the psychedelic stuff starts happening, I'm going, yeah, that's it. That's it. You got it.
All right. So 2001, and then from the 70s, our representative is Star Wars.
I love Star Wars. I love the characterizations. George, I went to SC film school and he was 2 years ahead of me.
Oh,
And when
really?
I was in school, yeah, we were already studying his films. He did a film in school called THX 1138B,
Yep. Yep.
which
Yep.
then he made a feature version for MGM, which failed with Robert Duvall, and it was a flop. But he made that film, and 2 years later, we were studying it in film school. So that shows you the impact he had as a student.
Mm.
And the world that he created in Star Wars is magnificent. I think all the rest of the Star Wars movies pale and are don't hold a candle to the original. Its innocence, its vibrancy, its characterization is wonderful, but I have to stick with 2001.
Okay. 2001, Blade Runner, coming to the 80s. That's our representative for the 80s and the end of the
Yeah, I
game.
said it was my favorite science fiction film. I am going to say they are both equal, so I'm not going to pick either one.
All
I
right. I'm going to
think
let you know.
because they're so disparate that to me it's unfair to compare them because they're two distinct visions of something where the director and the artists involved created perfect worlds that will forever inspire and audiences. So
Right. And they're
both of
polar
them.
opposites.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I
Is
love all
that
your
it?
answers. Yes,
Oh,
that's it.
okay.
No, we get the Blade. I just stopped at
Okay.
the 80s. I stopped at the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
But I just made up that game just for you because I wanted to talk to you
Oh,
about like every other movie in
well,
the
I
world.
I I know you're such a student of film, and I know you want to become a director. And when you and I have talked about it, you certainly talk like one and have the passion and the awareness. And I remember sitting in dailies with Rick Berman on Star Trek, and I would comment about stuff and directing and whatever. He he recognized that quality in me and offered me a directing job. And I have had those kind of similar conversations with you, where I sense that in you, and I hope that opportunity presents itself to you.
Ooh, well, if it doesn't present itself to me, I'm gonna make it.
Good,
Gonna
good.
make it
Uh,
myself.
Today it's crazy how the digital technology has opened up so many avenues to be able to do to make a film that doesn't have to cost a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
Again, the iPhone is a 4K recording instrument. The only thing you need to make a good a film is a good sound person. If you have a good sound person, that's all you need, because without good sound, you don't got a good movie. You
Films,
don't have
yeah.
a good movie. All right.
Yeah,
So
that
when you do your movie, make sure you get good sound
okay. All right. So
and a
now
good story and good actors, but good sound.
you mentioned Star Trek, and I have just a little thing sitting there under my name, CinCine, where I said Rachel is really Raina. I don't know if anyone caught that, but I was just
I
going
didn't. I was going to ask you that, what that is. What?
because
Come
I'm
on.
going back. You know how I can always get it back to Star Trek, and I'm going to do 6 degrees in a minute, but I could not do this and not talk about Star Trek's version of Rachel, which was Raina Kopic in Requiem for Methuselah back on TOS. If you remember,
Whoa.
Flint made the woman who didn't know she was a android, right? And Kirk fell in love with her and released her humanity, remember? And Raina came to life. I was like, Rachel is Raina. Oh my God. Now this is
Oh,
well
wow.
before Blade Runner. I was like, somebody was watching Star
Oh,
Trek.
okay. Well, it's best to steal from the best. It's
Yeah.
that's a great That's a great read there.
So
I
I
have
just
to be
had to
honest with you. I was not a Star Trek TOS fan. I grew up on Man from Uncle, but uh, so I haven't. If I've seen it, I don't remember it. I've seen a couple of the episodes, but I have never really done a deep dive into it.
well, if take a look at Requiem for Methuselah.
Okay, I'm going to write it
The
down.
third
And
season
that
is the
was
third
okay.
season TOS, 21st episode, and the story of Raina is so Rachel. It's
Okay,
cray cray.
all right, cool.
And Star Trek had, we had Lal, who was
Yeah,
a different thing, with but was overwhelmed by the emotions of humanity, or like kind of, just
o-
went out, right? I mean, it was
overload.
Jada's
Yeah,
mom, and we got Star Trek had a lot of replicant type things going on, and of course Soji in Picard, which is almost like a modern day. Here's a woman, she doesn't even know she's a twin. She has memories just like Rachel. Soji thinks she's human. And she's got the pictures too. She had pictures too. Oh my God. No, Soji is Rachel from
oh,
Picard. So Star Trek
yeah,
has before Blade Runner and after Blade Runner had their versions of Rachel. I just wanted to bring that to the fore.
very good. There are no new stories.
There were no new stories. Yes, sir.
It's
That is
just
true.
how do you tell them? Can you tell them better?
Right, exactly. And that's why you need the script writer. That's why you need the good dialogue, which I love the dialogue in Blade Runner. It was just I quit. I mean, I'm saying that forever. I quit already. I've been quit.
Well,
Deckard said
my
that. He was like, I'm done.
my career was as an episodic director, and I am the first to acknowledge that it starts.
Oh, do we David freeze up on us? And whoop, we lost him. And he's back. Kirk fell in love every other episode. Yes, Fran. And I was there for it. I was there for all of it. Hold on, everyone. Ooh, maybe we should just do 6 Degrees of Star Trek while we're trying to get David back. All right, everybody. Are you ready? Since we were already talking about Star Trek while we're trying to get David back, we're going to do 6 Degrees to touch. I was waiting for the rest of this. All right, so here we go. We start with Blade Runner, and in the first position, we have one of the stars, Edward James Olmos, who played Gaff, the detective. He is also in Battlestar Galactica, which we have in second position as General Adama. Now, I was a Lauren Green, General Adama, but Edward was definitely okay with me. I definitely like the second Battlestar Galactica. Is better than the first. Husker. So we have him in second degree. So we have Battlestar Galactica as a second degree. And from Battlestar Galactica, I know you think you know where I'm going, but I'm not. I am going to Grace Park, who played Lieutenant Ing, because Grace Park was also in Hawaii 5-0. Hey, David, I'm doing 6 Degrees of Star Trek. So hang on. We're almost at the fourth degree. So let's recap. We have Blade Runner, and then we have Edward James Olmos, number 1, Battlestar Galactica, number 2. Third degree is Grace Park from Battlestar Galactica because she plays Officer Kono doing a gender switch in my favorite show, Hawaii 5-0. And that's in the fourth position. And from Hawaii 5-0, we also have playing Chin Ho, Daniel Day Kim, who in the 6th degree of separation from Blade Runner is in Voyager, blink of an eye, and he is also in Enterprise. Both of these shows were produced by our man here, David Livingston himself. Daniel Day also played Corporal D. Chang, one of the Makos in Enterprise. And there we have it. We got from Blade Runner to Voyager and Enterprise. You know I love it. So that's it for 6 Degrees to Star Trek. David, every movie, I could tell you, if you have a sci-fi film in 6 Degrees, I can get it back to Star Trek. It doesn't matter what film you give me, I'll get it there. So that is doing it for Blade Runner. David, thank you so much for being here tonight. Is there anything else you want to tell us before you got cut off? You were in the middle of telling us something. Oh, you're muted. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I apologize. You did Joanna Cassidy to Enterprise?
Oh no, I didn't. I went. I know I could have. That would have been too easy. I would have been missing a few degrees.
Okay. She did a couple of episodes. She did a couple of episodes on Enterprise.
She sure did. You know what? I forgot about that. Wow. All right. So, David, it's been a joy as usual having you here. And I learned some things about Blade Runner that I didn't know. And you got to drive Fritz Lang. That is like the story of my life. That is so great.
Isn't that crazy?
That is totally great. I got to tell you about the time I met Gloria Swanson. Oh my God.
Whoa. Are you serious? Wow.
I was like 16 years old and I was on the Universal Studios tour. And this woman is like standing there and I recognized her. I said, "Oh my God, it's Gloria Swanson." And I went up and she said, "I cannot believe you even know who I am." And I was like, "Miss Swanson, can I take a picture?" So I was out of my mind that day. I called my mom, long distance from LA. Mom, I saw Gloria Swanson.
Did she say to you, make sure it's a close-up?
No, she was there filming, I think, The Swarm or the one with the bees. With
Yeah,
Roddy
she did
McDowell.
those horror movies in the 80s. It was very weird.
Right. She was there doing one of those or Love Boat or something. I don't know. But I knew it was
How
Gloria
cool
Swanson.
that is so cool to meet somebody like that. That is great.
And nobody cared. Like nobody knew who I was talking about. I was like, I was going off. So anyway, so that's the end of our show before Sabrina has a conniption fit. I think I should call it a day. Just remember, folks, CinneCine Goes SyFy is going to return. This is our finale show of season 1. And I will be back on January 29th at 9:30 p.m. I'm going to keep it a secret as to what movie we're going to do that night. And remember, Tuesday, November 19th, is the finale of our live show, the SyFy Sistas live show. And it's going to feature all the hosts from the SyFy Sistas Inc. shows. That's Derek and Tanya and me. And also Bill and Dan from Trek Geeks are also going to be here. So come on and join us for Tuesday night, our finale show. It is going to be a lot of fun. So, David, you want to tell everybody where they can reach you on social media if they want to drop you a line?
I don't know what my social media is. I don't have much of a presence, but
you're on Facebook.
Oh, I am? Okay, I'm on Facebook. What am I? I don't even know these.
David Livingston.
Huh? I'm David Livingston on Facebook. Oh,
Yes,
you know what? I think I knew that because when when you first signed up for it, 15, how many ever years ago was, you could pick your own handle and David Livingston wasn't taken. So now it's probably David Livingston 11956B.
Oh, there's a bunch of you.
Yeah. But I'm the only David Livingston.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're the first one.
Yeah.
And if you want to find me, I am also on Facebook as Sabrina Wood. That's SubrinaWood. On Instagram, I am Sabrina_Wood. And I'm still on the Twitter thing, X. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on that, but as Sabrina Wood. And as I said before, there is no bloody A in Sabrina. not in the beginning.
Sabrina.
No bloody S on wood. And that's our
Get
show
it
for
right,
tonight.
everybody.
I will see you in January. I don't know what y'all gonna do until then. You're gonna watch movies. Get ready. Like, watch some sci-fi movies so you all know what movie I'm talking about next season. All right. Good night, everyone.